numero uno. Where are you from, and how does that affect your work?
That is an interesting question, and it could get a lot of different answers. So, let's see. I'm a Midwest kid. I am from a working class family, and I grew up in. I was born in the very late 70s, and I grew up in the 80s and 90s. There was a modeling boom back then, and that's what got me first started in scale modeling. And Lego and all that other creative stuff. Like I was just a creative kid, and it was a good time for creative kids. And I think that the fact that there was as much available at the time, and I guess it was like for better, like a better reason, credit was as good as it was at the time. That that really was like a thing that affects the way that I work now, because not only was there these or were there these cool mediums for me to experiment in, there was also a lot of very creative and interesting intellectual property, like the Macross stuff that I was introduced to when I was like 6 or 7 or something like that by my one of my older cousins, and the comic books and obviously the Lego, and then getting into doing the scale modeling and stuff like that. You know, figuring out that that was a good avenue for me for creative outlet, right? Because I mean, I still do all the other things. I'm all singing, all dancing, crap of the world, right? So I still paint and draw and design and build furniture and houses and all that stuff that I learned to do, because I really like to build things, and I'm really interested in. I think that actually maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's that's what spawned or spurned um my liking or interest in the inner workings, like how stuff is made. Like that's for lack of a better term, like how stuff's made.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, right. So yeah, that's probably it. Okay, it took you on a walk for that one. So that's how it affects my work now. Essentially, that's where it comes into. Because I'm interested in the way things work, and then I also like to design stuff, and I'm also very, I don't know. I love to like stare at the sky and like figure out what clouds look like, and like imagine how those clouds would look over a castle in the distance with some knights and a dragon, or like but like Brandywine painting style. But also, I don't know. I mean, and to get a little deep for a second, I think that I would like to try and pull more of that into the modeling, and I've talked about that a little bit here and there, but I think that that would be more fun to meld the cool fantasy elements of all the tertiary fun things that influence me in with the realistic stuff. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's always a fascinating avenue to go down. You don't see a lot of fantasy mech crossover build wise. It's always
mm-mm.
concept art, but not build wise, and I think that's a damn shame.
Right. Yeah, Emerson Tong and his like tank head, his whole tank head series is great, because you have all these cool tank models, all these cool robot models, all this styrene. Let's get busy.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's something about the concept of we have a knight. Technically, he's in armor, but wouldn't it be cool if he was in mech armor?
Right.
Not
Or
war
maybe
paint
if it,
style armor, but
what if it's like not even that, Jay? What if it's not even that? What if it's like he's like a half cyborg, or like, or even like go 40K style, right? With the dudes like the in all the shit, like like those can't even remember what they're called, and all the people out there,
armor.
their mini tables are screaming at me and shaking their fists at the sky.
They're too many. They're Primarchs, Sisters of Battle.
But you get what I'm saying, right?
Hmm.
the power armor boys and girls
Yep.
of the yeah.
And even like, hear me out, mechanical dragon.
Oh sure. Yeah. That's that's pre the flea for me.
I mean, Smog's cool and all, but it'd be a lot cooler if he was a robot.
I mean, what made Smog so cool was that he was voiced by what was his name? Butterscotch Cucumber?
Beneford cucumber patch, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bounce around.
I trust you. I'm in your hands.
Back to That's an iffy choice most of the time.
Ah, come on.
Where do you find inspiration?
Wow. No, that's actually a really good question because there are so many places and things and experiences. Um, I draw a lot of my creative, um, hmm, or I get a lot of my creative energy, I should say. I get a lot of my creative energy from emotion. Um, like, usually it's like
Solid.
a feeling or or yeah, really ultimately it's for me a lot of it is based in feeling. It's like I'm not so I mean I do have the ability to build a model for a purpose. Like if someone is like, "Hey, build me this for this," I'll do that. Like that's cool. And I can, and I respect forms and history and shit like that. So if we're doing like, IPMS style model building and whatever, like yeah, I can do all of that stuff. But when it comes to my creative things, a lot of times I'm driven like my mecha stuff, like the flea, or even what I did with the Breagle a little bit. Or well, Breagle was a little bit of like wanting to really pay homage to Luca and really bring out a lot of the things and try and enhance the model that he made in a way that I felt it kind of needed to give it a little bit of a up, a little perk up. But like say like the flea was from um, it wasn't really so much driven by emotion. So that's a little bit of a caveat, I guess, right? Because the flea was like, actually, maybe it was. The flea was driven from complacency because I built so many mecha, right? I built all those Gundams. I built like my first year of building back into building skill models and building Gundam models. I think I built like 48 or 49 models in that first year. And of those four, like just those are like built out of the box. And then of those 48 or 49, I did like 12 of them were customized. And then of those 12, 9 of them were like fully like full on painted and like redone, super duper done. And I think that after doing all of these things and like trying to put my spins on it, I really wanted to break out of the doing a Gundam, doing it this kind of Gundam, doing the Kashatra Corps, like where I took two unicorns and I made them into a Kshatriya and like all this other crazy shit. Um, I wanted to do something that was like super duper original, and that was what was the thing. So it was my like feeling like kind of shoehorned in. It was my own anxiety, I guess it would be, that caused me to want to build that model. And then after I did the flea, and then I did the resin upgrade for the full city, that I made the full city upgrade from the rebake, which is like a garage kit, and like all the work that went into all of that sculpting stuff, and then all of the work that I was doing as the metal worker that I was at the time was just exhausting me, and I felt just wholly drained. And that's where Mozuko came from, the demon guy, the big demon dragon guy or whatever, with the big naginata, just leaning on his staff on a cliff, just tired as fuck. And that was me, like old wizard Brian leaning on his staff.
And I mean,
So
I think
yeah, I would say Yeah, I would say emotions. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's incredibly valid. I mean, I think a lot of us, even to those who don't say it's emotion driven, it is to an extent emotionally driven.
Mhm.
Like,
Well,
not to them
and a
like
lot of people aren't.
being or young, whatever. But
No, I'm not that old. I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old. Um, no, but it's like also a measure of honesty. Like, where are you? Are you being honest about the things that you do? And that's something I preached early on in the podcast, Built Sideways podcast. Is that you should be honest with yourself and be honest with the people that are you're interacting with. Like, if you don't have that level of honesty about your work, your artwork, or being able to own your own shortcomings and your own mistakes, because we all make mistakes. That's just part of life. The only thing that people will judge you on is your inability to handle your own shit, right? Right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
of
like,
course. I
yeah,
fucking
is the
make
more
mistakes
honest
all
you
the time.
are, yeah, yes, the more honest we are with each other, the more honest we are with ourselves, the less we have anything to fucking feel bad about. You don't have anything to feel bad about if you're honest about it. And even if you're honest about it, it doesn't matter what it is. Just be honest about it and own it. Own your shit. Own your ass.
Yeah,
Quotable. Own your ass. Make it a sticker. Put my face by it. Thumbs up.
valid that we talk about mistakes because a lot of people get flustered over that. Like we we make mistakes. We're basically hardline monkey brain. We're gonna make mistakes,
Yeah, if you're not making a mistake, then you're not trying
even
to
if
do
it's
anything new.
yeah.
I mean, right?
Valid.
And I would
Valid.
say our inability to be able to recover from the mistakes is the shortcoming. So people get angry when you point out their like not really shortcomings, but the mistakes that may have been made, because they take that as a personal slight, as instead of it being a noticeable defect. So defects can be hidden and can't be noticeable. Maybe they're not. Maybe there aren't defects then. Who knows? But your ability to accept the comments and the commentary about your own work and being able to improve upon it and grow from it is really a lot of where mature, I guess, the maturity quote on big heavy quotes on that shit come from in building it, because it doesn't matter about, it's not about age, because there are old ass dudes that can't handle you telling them that um this Gundam is fine or whatever. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, that's on point. And it also, I feel like for most people, because I've talked about this before, it's also like they get really defensive and like
yeah.
I don't, and I'm trying to word this. When we comment on social media, sometimes it's really difficult to tell the tone of what's being said. And I put this in context of, let's say, me and Julio. He might comment, this looks like doo doo. To me, I know, that's not a me comment. Somebody outside of our little contextual friends zone
Mm-hmm.
might not.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard on social media to pick up tone.
True. And you're gonna
It
have people
really is.
that will quote unquote white knight. I'm all in the quotes tonight. They're gonna white knight in there and try and like, I'm doing good. It's like, nah, boss. Just know your role. Slow down. Take a seat. It's okay.
It's one
Because
thing if like it's a genuine douchebag comment, but most
well,
of the
yeah,
time
that's totally different. That's a whole different
it's
ball
just
game.
friends.
We're talking about like, yeah, we're talking about like you and Julio, or like, or me or Kyle or Pabs or even Adam. I never even talked to that guy anymore. Anyone, any of the people, B or Tim or any of us, in the squad, Armida or Chris or other Julio. And we just name drop 1,000 fucking names from mechanisms and all of our fucking hangouts,
Too many Julius.
I know, right? Or Zeshin. Don't forget about Z.
But yeah, can't forget the Pepsi.
Of course not. How could you?
On to
In
number three.
yes,
All right, tell me about your favorite medium.
my favorite medium. Hmm. 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 It's tough because I've worked in a lots of mediums. So, wow. Hmm. So I like all mediums. Let me preface this very long answer with saying that I do enjoy working in all mediums. As I've said always, that I am a jack of all trades and a master of none because it's better than being a master of only one. Um, hmm. And it depends on the application. And I'm kind of a mixed media sort of guy. Uh, I spent 15 years as a metal worker. I like I literally have metal in my blood. I'm sure that I have a very, very high cadmium content, and I'm probably way more sick on the inside than I think I am. But that's probably actually I'm probably pretty healthy. Anyways, so but that's tough because it's like metal is incredibly versatile, and I've worked in it on super duper small scale and super duper large scale, and I've done sculptural stuff and I've done architectural stuff, and I've made a bunch of furniture out of it, and I've made a bunch of houses out of it, and I made a bunch of art out of it, and I made all this crazy crap that I know it really well, and I'm super comfortable with it. But at the same time, it has its shortcomings, and it's expensive, and it's heavy, and it's dirty. I spent a lot of time working in wood, polymers, doing sculptures to then make silicon molds and then cast in resin. So resin is really cool, but also resin is incredibly temperamental and incredibly hard to work with. So is silicone, and so is all of these other things. Um, and then I mean, if you go back in time, talk about painting, flat canvas, stretching canvases, and then painting in oils and painting in acrylics, creating depth or illusion of depth or realistic, bas relief sculpture paintings, combos, things. They all have their like drawbacks and their benefits. It's weird. I think that let me see. What is a good creative answer to this one? What kind of medium do I most prefer to work in? Conversation.
That's a solid one.
Yeah, conversation. I really enjoy talking, and I really enjoy sharing ideas and learning and yeah, and educating, I guess. So as best I can.
I like this one.
Yeah.
Remind me to edit it a little reading rainbow logo.
Or like the more you know, like with the star and all that.
All right. How do you develop your art skills?
Wow. I get excited about stuff really easily, which is one thing that I think is kind of like a superpower and a super deficit at the same time. Is that I get excited about shit, um, and want to get excited about stuff. I want to find out how it goes. So yeah. What avenues do I take to find out the answers that I seek? I mean, obviously, I already talked about how I love to talk to people about stuff. So, but when I can't do that, or even prior to that, because talking to people can be complicated and cause anxiety and shit like that, I love books. They're fantastic. YouTube is a great place to see some things, but you have to really curate what you're looking for to make sure that you're not just getting some dumb nothing or somebody regurgitating something else that was said on a podcast or something like that in poorer quality. But yeah, there's and then yeah, ask a friend, phone a friend.
Oh, did
This
it?
is what you get when you try to interview me.
Hey, I'm loving it. All right, let's see.
What do you got?
How has your style changed over time?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. If we want to talk about the broader spectrum of art, initially, when I started to create art as a young person, I just tried to I really tried to do things that would be appreciated, but I also tried to emulate things that I saw. So um, early on, I would say maybe early on, I just was drawing free, just whatever. I would just try and do my best. So it was like, you know, raw things became stick figures with clothes, but that didn't look right. So then I started to try to draw the hands and the feet and everything like that, but they didn't look right. So, or the shoes or whatever. And so like I tried to work on changing all of those things as best that I could to just try to naturally progress all that. And then I'm a little bit older, so there wasn't the internet and just was books and things like that. So I would do the trips to the library and get books, not just on like figure drawing or things like that, but I would get books on. There this wonderful series of books that was available when I was younger that did like dissections of different machines and stuff like that. So it would be like a whole book on like say construction equipment and municipal stuff and like ambulances and taxis and stuff like that. And then there was another book that was like militaria that was like planes and ships and stuff like that. And there was another one that was like whatever, those kind of books. And then just various things to try and instructional manuals. And I would do what I could, like find out Bob Ross was a thing, which was pretty hype. And when I first found out Bob Ross was a thing, I was like, well, shit, I'm not just going to draw anymore. Now I want to try and do some painting. So then I got into painting, and it was like drawing and painting. And then like my mom is a crafter, so like she do like craft things and would have like cool decorations up in the house. And like I got into like drawing the decorations that she would have out, like still lifestyle, or like then trying to like recreate the different things and like got into sculpting, um, and like I don't know, man. Like I just like it all. Like I'm like I'm hungry to learn shit. Like there's a few things I have on the list. Like I don't have a lot of experience in blowing glass. I have a little bit of experience in cutting stone, but not enough to feel competent that I could carve a gargoyle, let's say. Um, and let's see. Oh, hmm, hmm. Wow, my list got a lot short. Used to be longer because I have the metal. I have all the metalworking that I could fucking possibly imagine. I could use a little bit of a brush up on tempering for blades. I
Yeah,
know like some, but I don't know enough. But yeah, like, I mean, what was I talking about?
that's solid. On to the next one.
She's like, question 4,
All right, let's see here.
2 hours in.
Um, what what tools are crucial for you?
Sarah Canna ceramic scrapers sold by Volks USA and Volks Japan.
Quality.
Right?
I don't have
We'll
any
keep that one
ceramic
short.
scrapers.
Dude, they're great.
Yeah,
This
I don't
buddy
have
of
any
mine,
ceramic scrapers.
yeah, this buddy of mine that I met back in 2018. I knew him a little bit before that on the internet. His name is Luca Zambriolo, Calamity. Uh, he
I am
told me about
familiar.
him. Yeah, he told me about him back in the day. And as soon as he told me about him, I got him and I started to preach the gospel and try and get as many people to get them as well, because they're a fantastic tool, and I can't promote them enough, and can't promote my buddy Luca as much.
All right, next one up. Let's go. How do you define success as an artist?
Hmm. Well, how do I define success as an artist?
Yes.
We'll keep it short because I could get philosophical and talk the other end, but I don't need to. okay, let's, yeah, how do I find success? Yeah, success for myself. Not like how I think everyone else can find their own success, but how I personally find success. I feel successful when I hmm, I guess I feel successful when I complete a project with purpose that is well received by the community. Not that doesn't mean like winning awards or taking trophies or whatever, just like
Yeah.
commentary and feedback from, my contemporaries and other individuals in the community. Um
Yeah.
so like my goal for the Cerulean project this year um is a little bit large, and I I let that I kind of have been trying to not let that weigh on me, as that tends to bring out the anxiety in a project.
Yeah.
Um so when you can overcome that anxiety and when you can work through the challenges and come to a positive result, I feel like therein lies, you're being a success. Is that you achieve your vision, that you are satisfied with your work, even if it's not like the best that it could be. Just being happy with what you've done, because we can always make something better. That's the that's the
Yeah.
old thing about paintings and stuff. Like, they're never done, or art or whatever. It's never done, but like, yeah, we get it. So, but yeah, but getting to that point, feeling like you have been able to at least in part realize your vision, at a stage to where either you can progress on it further or you can work it again, in a different way. So, like, you're making a chair. If you make a chair, an Adirondack chair, your first Adirondack chair is going to be a little janky. Make a second one, it's going to be better, so on and so forth. Build a house, build a shed, build a car, build a temple, you know, build a society.
Like, like that
Sometimes
scene
you
from
just
the
gotta
Patriot.
tear down. What's that?
Yeah. Like that scene from the Patriot where he's trying to build a chair and he's trying to build a chair and he just has these stacks of rocking chairs.
Yep. No, and that's for real though. Honestly,
Next one.
lay it on me.
Is there a specific environment that is crucial to your work?
Nope,
Nope.
it's not. Nope, there isn't. I've done work comfortably sitting at the workbench. I've done work um perilously hanging off the edge of a building. I've done work on top of an elevator, where you need a union permit that I never had. I've done work. See, yeah, hanging upside down. Just like yeah. There's, it is what it is. Work is work.
Quality. Next one. What do you like to snack on when working?
Well, it kind of varies. I've always been a fan of um, gummy candy or sour gummy candy. Right now I have what is this? It's the Mike and Ike's Mega Sour Mix.
That is
That's what
really
I
nice.
have right now.
It's
We
quality.
also keep. What's that?
It's quality. That's my favorite.
Oh no, that's really good. Yeah, or Sour Patch Kids or Haribos. I rock a lot of Haribos. I like salted in the shell peanuts. Um, I will eat popcorn with chopsticks on occasion. But yeah, I mean, like, I honestly, this is where I'm at in the house. Like, if I'm awake and I'm doing something in the house, I'm usually here at the workbench, or I'm, you know, out in the backyard in the shed or doing something like that. So like, if Colleen isn't around, I'm in here. So I eat here, breakfast, lunch, dinner if I'm at the workbench. or just like move some shit out of the way, eat really quick, go back to whatever the heck I'm working on, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit of a, I'm a workahol. I'm addicted to workahol.
Remind me to get the guys together so we can have an intervention about that. This one, let's see. What was your scariest hobby or art moment? Or the
Hmm.
most embarrassing?
Hmm. There have been so many moments, scary or embarrassing. Well, I mean, there's always that first time that you have to put your work up in a professional forum. So, um, having your work in a gallery um, with people that are worth multi-million dollars looking at your shit and commenting on it. I was part of a was through the metal shop through I was part of a I was the metal workers that made the art for the whatever, but it's still my work and it's still being judged by all these people. That happened a lot of times for me, just because of the where I am, what happened in my circumstances is not typical at all. Um, um, I don't know, you saw like Sherlock Holmes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You saw my work. You saw Men in Black 3.
Mm-hmm. One of my
Yeah, you saw my
favorites.
work. You saw my work there too. Yeah. Just see the Amazing Spider-Man 2
Yes.
yeah, you saw my work. Did you see the Born Identity? I don't know, the Born Ultimatum.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I was working that one. Um, I did. I'm no, but
I
that's the thing. Like, I've done a lot of stuff, and I've done like gallery stuff, and like I've polished the moon for Not Vital, and I am not your typical person. I've done a lot of shit. Like, I worked in a lot of things. I've had my hands in a lot of pots, and I've been very fortunate to be able to I mean, like, yeah, and I've had stuff on TV. And I mean, here's me just like fluffing myself right now, just like with all those, like, oh, I'm gonna name drop a bunch of bullshit, like whatever. But like for real though, I've been really fortunate to be able to work on a lot of projects, and I really try to hold myself to a pretty high standard for the work that I do. So I want to make sure that everything that I put out there is very well received. Like the people that saw, I mean, I did a lot of work for Madam Secretary, a lot of brass work, and I feel like all of that stuff was fantastic and very, very well received. And I'm proud about that work because I was like recreating things that were, just like photographs through modern stuff and like parting things together and doing faux work and matching finishes. And that to me was like a big feather in the cap to be able to use my knowledge of material sciences and experiences through all of the time that I spent doing all of this stuff to be called upon to be like, hey, like, we have these sculptures that came from a casting house in China that have kind of funky finishes, and they have to go to these really high end clients. Can you fix them for us? And to be like the secret guy, almost like the wolf guy or whatever the fuck they are. And like, I would just fix this stuff under the radar, and it would just go off to this, like, oh, this one's over here by a fucking, Monet, and there's another, whatever. It's just like, it's weird. Because at the
I
same
have one
time,
to con-
I get nothing from any of this except I have these stories that I can tell to you or to, whatever.
and I love them because all right, next question Drop a random art tip right now.
Hmm. Random art tip: don't be afraid to change your number 11 exacto blade out. Sharp exacto blade is much more important than saving half a penny a week on not on not using fresh blades. Um, yeah, you're gonna save yourself more heartache uh, using a fresh blade than you will not.
A dull blade is a dangerous blade.
It's true. Yep. A cut from a dull blade is way worse than a cut from a sharp blade.
Alright, next one. What does your artwork represent? Are there themes or messages?
Hmm. Good question. Nothing more than, I suppose, the initial or the implied emotion from the builds. Um, I don't really have like an overarching message or like a banner that I like, fly or anything like that. Um, Mostly, yeah, like I've said before, and I'm gonna stick to that again. Is essentially I try to inspire people to build something creative um, and find something that they want to make and follow that like aspiration or that dream. I want to sound cliche or whatever. I want to empower people to just explore their own creative desires and be, who they need to be.
Quality. Alright, next up. How do you think art is important to society?
Mm, well, art is a reflection of society, right? So the works of art that we see throughout the periods of history are reflections of the time and uh, some of the social views, whether they be through direct representation or through satirical representation. I mean, then obviously when you get deeper into um, existential and subjective work or non-subjective work, like Dada or Picasso's work or Dali's work, the surreal, then like things get a little bit different. Um, in regards to the mecha modeling field, I don't think it has any relationship to society or anything. I really think that it's just like making cool shit and showing love for a creative IP and for a common love of a common uh, you know design or something like that. So, and I think that that's fantastic, just as fantastic as the amount of love as there are for people that build Sherman tanks or Hornet airplanes or whatever it might be.
Alright, let's see. What do you listen to when you work?
Hmm. Well, I listen to a lot of things. I often will put on um, movies that I enjoy that I've seen. Like I background watch a lot of movies. But a lot of it is like varied. It's just things that I enjoy. So whatever it is, doesn't matter. Like if you're like talking to the average person out there, like put on what you enjoy. Like I've watched John Wick films a shitload of times, Maze Runner films. Let's see, obviously the Marvels like dozens of times. Lego movie, like whatever it might be, doesn't matter what the movie is, like, Blast the Mohicans, like whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter the movies, like whatever you enjoy. I put that kind of stuff on in the background, things mostly things that I've seen a bunch of times though. Because if it's something that I haven't seen, it always draws my attention away from stuff I'm working on. So I suppose also there is an intersection there between things that I've seen 1,000 times and things that I enjoy. So there are movies that I've seen 1,000 times that I also enjoy, and so I'll like know when to stop working on what I'm working on to watch the cool shit. Right? You get that way with like the Lord of the Rings. You can like power watch the extended cut Lord of the Rings trilogy and like kind of fast forward through like the meh and like watch the cool shit, if you wanted to, or you can like do work and like skip the slow parts in a way by working on something else and listening to Sam and Frodo talk on about something, and then like pay attention when there's a cool fight. So yeah, I do a lot of that visual stuff, but like audio style. It's almost like listening to books. And then I run like YouTube, and I'll watch a lot of guys doing things that I also enjoy, like building log cabins or like, off the grid stuff, or gardening, landscaping. I watch a lot of landscaping stuff. I was a landscaper for a bunch of years. Yeah, just kind of like I'll listen to music too. Sometimes I'll just throw on I'll pull up Amazon or Pandora or whatever and put on some of my own mix, and I listen to a huge variety of things. So it's like kind of like pay attention to everything.
So I feel the same way.
Sure.
If it's not podcasts, it tends to be a hit or miss with me listening when I'm working. Cause if it's a long podcast episode, I'll get bored of the middle, no matter what. No matter if it's even
Okay.
something I like. So
Sure.
I'll just end up pausing it and listening. Like, take for example this little podcast I listen to called Go Sideways Podcast. It's really neat. You might not have heard of it. I'll listen to halfway through, and then I'll start tapering off, and then I'll come back a little later.
Oh my gosh.
I may go right through it. Sometimes I can get away with doing that if I put the speed to like 1.5.
Hmm.
Because I don't know
Oh,
if the audio can change.
one
That
point.
keeps
I always
me.
go one. I always go 1.25 personally. All podcasts.
Next up, what's your most seminal art moment?
Seminal art moment. What does that even mean?
Seminal?
Yeah.
Like, the most important, like. How
Hmm.
would I
I
even
got you.
define
The
seminal?
penultimate, right? Your penultimate art moment. Like where was the most
Yes.
epiphany, right?
Like,
Let's look at it that way. What was the
a
most
moment that,
epiphany?
like, a moment
Um,
that kind
I
of
would say
inspired the rest.
it happened when I was really young, and I was like, I can't remember how old I was. Probably like 4 or 5, probably something like that. I was at the sitters. Mom was working, of course. She was single then, and I was surrounded by a swirl of children. We're at at a sitters or whatever, like a daycare thing. Um, and I had some crayons and a gigantic sheet of paper in front of me, and I think there was a girl that I was sweet on that was across from me. She was young as well, obviously same age or similar age, and she was like drawing with crayons and like trying to draw letters or a person or a something or other, and I grabbed the crayon and I tried to do the same thing, and I was able to like I did something that was like was able to translate like my thought or my mind into my drawing, and like that moment where I started drawing, then that really clicked into my head. This was something that I genuinely enjoyed in life, that creative process to be able to put my own thoughts and use my hand and whatever tool it was to create, whether it be, and that started on flat form, with crayons, and I was just wasting paper and shit because I'm a little kid, you know what the fuck you're doing, and you're just having fun. But that was the kickoff point that started me on that journey towards that, that creative endeavor, towards drawing more, towards, and then drawing led into wanting to do things in, rendering things in 3D through drawing. And then it was like, how do I sculpt things in 3D? And then it was like, what different ways can I sculpt things? And like, what can I do? Can I carve stuff? Can I use clay? How do you use clay? Can you throw clay on, like, how to throw clay on a wheel, like doing there, and then other kinds of ceramics, or like other craft work too, or like jewelry making, or, and then jewelry making leads into metalworking, and then that leads into, other forms of art and sculpture. And, so really, like, yeah, the seminal moment was that point when I was like, alone and destitute and lost, and found that connection between the paper and the pencil, or the paper and the crayon. That visceral moment, that creative spark. Yeah, that was a good time. I always think about that sometimes, like, or it always lives with me. So
Phenomenal. I mean, that's really great. You
thanks.
took us back to lowercase b, and you got us going. Honestly,
Oh yeah,
it's top tier.
yeah,
It's heartfelt
sure.
and endearing.
We're all heartfelt. Our whole lives are, and it's easy to lose track of those points, and it's hard to think about the good points, the things that really do matter, positively. It's easy to think about the things um, that have tried to set us back.
Who are your biggest artistic influences?
Ooh, this is a good one. Let's see. Biggest artistic influences. Hmm. This is tough because there's lots. There are many, many, many things that artists and artistic works, or collections of works that have. As you can see, I'm over here staring at my pile of
Hmm.
books. Um, hmm. Obviously, I'm gonna give up front. I'm gonna give to Luca Zampriolo, my friend Luca, for being his creative self and putting out the works that he's put out. They've been wildly inspirational, and I found a fabulous compatriot in him, for the creative vision, the design, the draw out, the layout. You want to look at somebody that's like dedicated to the craft and a record keeper. Like, I used to be a crazy record keeper, but I'm not as much as I was before. That man is fantastic. And then Kao Yokiyama, obviously Make. His vision of originality through common kitbash, and his dedication to the creative craft, has is just like super duper valuable. Can't go wrong. Obviously, Link's tied into that too. Lincoln, right? Yeah, Link. Fucking give that guy a high five and buy him a coffee. Um, if you want to go a little bit farther back in time, Barry Windsor Smith, he was the guy that did the Weapon X comics, back in the day. Yeah, he's so good, and all of his work. Like, I read a book of his, and then Bill Sienkiewicz, who recently passed. Rest in peace, Bill. Bill Sienkiewicz, Sienkiewicz. Sorry, I should say Sienkiewicz. I'm still talking like I'm back in the '90s, and I bought this book when I was at a college visit. This guy, fantastic. He did so much work for the Dune comics, back in the '80s, and for this. Was it like a limited series called like Strange Toasters or something like that? And like, yeah, he's just like a wild pen and ink artist. Frank Cho. I want to talk about like pen and ink artist. Frank Cho is fantastic. Um, there's a whole slew of new guys. Fuel Stains, um, shit. Brian Sum Creative. I just got his book, Aftermarket, out there. Fantastic. You guys can check that shit out. Let's see. Just looking over here on the side. Oh man, Simon Bisley. Man, Simon Bisley's The Bible. He's so good. He did a lot of stuff that was like heavy metal or heavy metal 2099 kind of stuff, like early on stuff. Man, his renditions and illustrations from the Bible are fantastic. Joseph Clement Call. Let's go back to the 1920s. Joseph Clement Call with his pen and ink work. He's right in line with our other good friend, Barry Windsor, not Barry Windsor Smith, but Bernie Wrightson, who did work akin to Frazetta in fantastical style, but did it all in linotype style. So it was all done pen and ink. Fantastic work. He just recently passed. I had an opportunity to see some of his work in the round, and that was mind blowing for being a creative. We can keep going. I can keep going. I don't need to keep going, but I could keep going.
Hey, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I'm fine. I love it. I love hearing about other artists. It's amazing the things that I can get from people.
Oh man.
Now,
I mean, let's talk local community stuff. Like let's say Chris Maddings, right? Chris Maddings, fantastic scratch builder. He's an author as well. He's the Inside the Armor guy. He does Woodcutters Union. And then even on that podcast themselves and that grouping, you have Will Pattison. Will Pattison used to be he's like an all-around guy and an engineer, and he did motocross, and he was in like a pretty bad motorcycle accident, and it was basically like crippled him. And now he still scale models, and he's come back and he's a fabulous scale model. It's not fantastic, he's fabulous scale model. He was just like not for like I need any reason to tout his credentials, but he was recently won an award from, I think it was Meng, for his Hornet that he did. Fantastic fucking shit. The guy's super good, and he's super duper smart, and he cares about the community, and cares about craft. And then Tracy Hancock on there as well, who is doing his best to host a fantastic pizza restaurant, as well as like throw down some really, really amazing tanks and other builds. Let's see. The whole crew at the Skill Model podcast and the Plastic Posse podcast. They're good. Good groups of guys. They're holding down good shows. Very inclusive. On a more personal note, small subjects with Barry Bettiger and Jim. I met them at MFCA and got a chance to hang out with them a little bit. They're fantastic guys, and their show is really, really good. So small subjects, big ideas. It's all about scale modeling miniature figures and then box diorama figures, and and they talk to a lot of like cool people. They've been around for a long time, so they have like a good interaction with the community. It's a really valuable show. Let's see. Nah, everybody else can suck it. It's getting late.
Fabulous. All right. Last but least, when people view your art, what do you want them to experience or feel? What the moods?
Not this harsh ass light that I just performed for myself here. Well, that's a tough question, because art is also subjective and objective at all times. So I do think of the modeling work and the sculptural creative work that I do as art, first and foremost. And I understand that the things that people see from my work like many other creatives, whether it be writing or film or music, it's all going to be viewed from a different place, from a different set of emotions or a history or whatever it might be. And that is one of those inherent things we all have to understand. So, what I hope that I can achieve with the work that I do is I want to instill a sense of like childlike wonderment. I want people to see my work and be fascinated by it and inspired by it to make something that they also are inspired to make. Um, and I also want to, I mean, like, just for myself, like, I want to feel like I am, like I enjoy the things that I make. So I don't make things that I don't enjoy. So I think that it's like a two-way street there. So I really try to make something because I think that, like, yeah, if we don't enjoy what you're working on, then the people that view it won't enjoy it. I think. I mean, maybe that's kind of selfish for me to think, but I think that my
No,
main
because
goal is to.
you can tell when somebody loves what they do compared to what they don't love.
Well, yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, what? If you don't love it, don't do it. Like, seriously, whatever it might be, life, love, whatever. If you hate your job, don't do your job. Get a different job. You can always get a different job or whatever. You know,
Thank you for doing this tonight.
my
I
pleasure.
greatly
Thank you for
enjoyed
having
it.
me. Let's see. If anyone wants to find us, you can go Built Sideways Podcast, Instagram Bro Builder. Uh, that's it.
And y'all know where to find me. I'm everywhere. I'm in your house.